Hey guys, it's Jessica here. As you guys all know, I've lived in the Philippines for about a total of 9 years. And during the first few months of my stay in the Philippines, or even years, I've experienced lots of culture shocks because of how different it was from Korea. However, as I continued to live in there, I slowly began to feel a sense of home. And I wondered why. Is it because of the amount of time that I stayed in there? Or is it the people that I used to get along with? There are probably several reasons behind it, but one of the main reasons I think is because of some of the cultural similarities between Korea and the Philippines. So for today's video, I am going to be sharing with you guys some of the similarities between Korean and Filipino culture. History-wise, both countries were highly influenced by Western culture, despite the fact that we were both located in Asia. And this reason or fact would be the basis of some of the more specific examples that I'll be mentioning in a while. The first similarity that I noticed is respect for the elderly. In the Philippines, they have such a thing as mano, which is an honoring gesture that the younger people show to the elders as a sign of respect. At first, I thought mano was only done to the senior citizens of the Philippines. So when I was younger, like when I was 10 or 11 years old, I would also do that to my Filipino teachers' parents whenever I met them. But after a few years, I visited this elementary school in Cabanatuan in the Philippines, and the children or students of that school were doing mano to me. So they took my hand and attached it on their forehead. I was really surprised because I thought that was only done to much older people than you. In Korea, we don't have a specific gesture that we show to the elders as a sign of respect, but it is just naturally shown in our action. Like your behavior to the older people would just change. But to mention a few specific gestures, it would be bowing, and that's the way we say hello, or it would be receiving something with two hands. So when you receive something, you just take it with two hands instead of just one hand. This similarity is also found in our languages. So in the Filipino language, they have such a thing as po. So they put that word at the end of every sentence to show respect to the older people you are talking to. And in Korean language, we have exactly the same thing, and that is putting yo at the end of the sentence. In the Philippines, they also have a specific term for calling their older siblings. So ate for an older sister and kuya for an older brother. In Korea, we also have exactly the same term, which is 언니 or 누나 for older sisters, and 오빠 or 형, two older brothers. The second similarity, which I think is the biggest one, would be food. Firstly, rice is both our staple, not bread, not potatoes, not anything but rice. Next, I noticed there are a lot of similar Filipino and Korean dishes. To mention some of the dishes that are similar to each other, first, adobo, which is Filipino food, is similar to any kind of soy sauce-based simmered or steamed meat dishes in Korea. An example would be 돼지고기 조림 or 찜닭. So when I first tried pork adobo, it resembled me of that 조림. And when I tried chicken adobo, I thought of that 찜닭. Next would be sinigang and 묵은지 찌개. 묵은지 is a type of kimchi that is fermented for a longer amount of time than the regular kimchi. And that's why it has a very sharp, sour taste. And a stew made out of it would be quite sour. And sinigang resembles of that because of how sour it is, and also because of how flavorful it is. Next would be kangkong and any kind of 나물 dishes in Korea. 나물, or wild greens, I would say in English, is usually prepared in the way that kangkong is prepared. They are both nicely salty and they are both garlicky. That is why when I first tried kangkong, I was like, oh my god, this is just a Korean side dish. So if you go to any kind of an authentic Korean restaurant, you will find different side dishes made out of different veggies, and you will probably see a dish that resembles you of kangkong. Next is bulalo, my favorite. I love bulalo so much. I love it more than sinigang. And galbitang. They are so similar. I think they are almost like the same kind of food. Next is my another favorite, crispy pata and jokbal. Jokbal is called pork feet. It has a chewy texture on the outside and quite of a soft texture in the inside. It's not fried, it's like steamed, I think. But I think if you just fry jokbal once, and it will just taste like crispy pata. That's how similar they are. Next, let's get into the exotic food, and that would be isaw and gopchang or makchang. In the Philippines, they usually have it grilled on a barbecue stick, but in Korea, we also eat it grilled but in a Korean barbecue setting instead of a barbecue stick. Next would be adidas or chicken feet and 닭발. Ironically, I never had a Filipino friend who ate adidas. But I still saw it in the streets of the Philippines, and many of you told me that you like that as well. I also love 닭발. It's usually seasoned with spicy seasoning, so if you cannot eat spicy food, probably you cannot eat it. But if you love spicy food, go ahead and try it out. In terms of the cooking style, I feel like many Filipino dishes and many Korean dishes are garlic based. And I think that's what makes both kinds of food quite similar as well. I would also like to mention this eating culture in the Philippines, which is called the budol fight. I don't know if you guys usually practice that still. So different kinds of food are put in one banana leaf, one long banana leaf, and everyone just shares the food with their bare hand. So there's no such thing as serving spoon and or individual plates or anything like that. It's just, let's share the food. And in Korea, that's how we eat. So in a typical Korean meal, there is one stew and the different side dishes, and you just pick it up with your chopsticks or spoon. So the budol fight really reminded me of the traditional way of eating in Korea. And there's also such thing as secham in Korea, which is also a practice of sharing meals together while working or during working. This is not really common nowadays in Korea, but some years ago, when there were lots of farmers who harvest the veggies together, all together in groups, they would have a mealtime together. And if you look at the pictures of it, it's pretty similar to budol fight, even the position, the vibe you get. Yeah. The third similarity between Korean and Filipino culture would be the fact that they are both family oriented. Basically, parents' thoughts matter in terms of working, making a decision, making an important decision. This does not mean that people from other countries don't care about their family or anything like that. But I clearly noticed that the lifestyle of my Filipino acquaintances and Korean acquaintances, they really take into consideration of their families when doing whatever they have to do in their lives. The fourth similarity is quite of an abstract observation. Both Korean and Filipino people are usually hospitable and friendly, not in a shallow sense. This is something very abstract, so it's very difficult to define it through words, but there's this kind of sense of warmth that you can feel. And I think this is the main reasons why I was able to consider the Philippines as my second home in a way. The fifth similarity that I noticed is a preference for fair skin. The reason for this for Korea is due to classism in the Korean history. Rich people had fair skin and poor people had dark skin. So people wish to have fair skin because that means you have a higher social position. That, I think, eventually developed in the way that fair skin is prettier or more beautiful than the dark skin. And I think it's also the same for the Philippines. Partly it's also because of classism, but I think there are also deeper reasons behind it, because the Philippines was directly influenced by Western culture for a much longer amount of time. But this notion or this concept is slowly changing in both countries, and it has to change. Although some of the much older people that that I met in the Philippines and in Korea, they still say things that implies that fair skin is more beautiful. Oh, you are so beautiful because you have fair skin. Don't get dark because it's better to have a fair skin, something like that. But this is changing, especially among the younger generations, and it is our task to completely eradicate this notion. The sixth similarity that I noticed, which is the last one, is karaoke. In the local villages that I visited in the Philippines, there was always someone or several people singing in the karaoke. That kind of OPM vibe music, people drinking while singing. So that's a very familiar scene for me. In Korea, they enjoy karaoke quite differently. So there's a karaoke place in basically any town or neighborhood, and friends go there together, sing together, relieve stress together, enjoy life together. So yeah, it's a quite common thing. I don't know anyone who's never been to the karaoke in Korea, and in the Philippines as well. Any local village, you will see someone singing in the karaoke. I don't know if I can come up with the reason why this is so. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment box. I just found it really cool. In today's world of highly developed media, I think we are quite conditioned to focus on how different we are from each other. That's why when I first went to the Philippines, I got lots of culture shocks in the beginning because I noticed all its differences from Korea. And I think this is a wonderful thing when we notice the differences and also accept how different we are from each other. But sometimes when we encounter differences that don't mesh with our own beliefs or own culture, own customs, we might question these differences, and that could also lead to cold judgments. This is why I realized that taking note of similarities is important when it comes to making positive and deep connections, even if it can require extra effort. So why don't we try to seek for similarities over differences, even in our daily lives? Alright, so I think we've come to an end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in my next one.